Hello and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here then hi, my name's Zoe. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button and also turn on that bell so you're notified every single time that I post. And if you're a current subscriber, please make sure that your bell's turned on so you're notified every single time that I post, because YouTube doesn't like suggesting true crime content. Today's video is a little different. Now, it is a true crime case, but the difference is we don't actually know if it is necessarily true or not. We don't actually know if there's a serial killer at large or if these deaths are just accidental. We're about to discuss whether these cases are just accidental or something more sinister. Today we are talking about the Manchester Pusher. The Manchester Pusher is a suspected serial killer that has been acting in the greater Manchester areas, including my hometown, and that fact has actually made me want to delve into this case even more. I was always warned about canals because of this theory or this myth. It's believed that the Manchester Pusher targets males in the dark, pushes them into the canal and leaves them to drown. Most likely, if you tell somebody in the Manchester area that you're going to be walking down the canal, whether that be going home from shopping or going home from the local pub, they will warn you about the pusher. This has become quite a legend in the area, and despite police saying there is no serial killer at large, the evidence supporting that is just astounding. And today we are going to delve into some of the evidence and the cases today. So it's believed that the Manchester Pusher has been at large since at least 2007. But it wasn't until 2014/15 that the media actually started to talk about this possible serial killer. And this was because police had actually revealed in the previous 6 to 8 years they'd pulled more than 60 bodies from Manchester's canals. One of the first cases that I remember that was connected to the Manchester Pusher, and the first case that I am going to go over today, is that of Nathan Tomlinson. Nathan was a 21-year-old student teacher from Stockport. His mother had actually reported him missing in the early hours of the 19th of December 2010. He had been out to the local pubs and clubs for his work's Christmas party on the 17th of December 2010. When he hadn't returned home by the end of the weekend, his mother was extremely worried and she decided to contact police. But when police actually came out and spoke to her, they turned around and said that Nathan was probably just cuddled up with some girl. Personally, I think that's an absolutely disgusting response. Every missing persons case should be taken seriously, and they just wasted valuable time. They should not have responded to that worried mother in such a manner. Police did start eventually searching for Nathan, but it was later confirmed that police could have done a lot more for him. Police managed to track Nathan down on CCTV. Now, he was seen near the local bus station, and then he was seen heading towards the River Irwell. Police searched the River Irwell over 15 times and they came across nothing. But sadly, 8 weeks later, Nathan's body was found floating in the River Irwell by a passerby. When the investigation launched into Nathan's death, police just initially assumed that he had just got too drunk and fallen in and then drowned. But when an autopsy was conducted, they could not determine a cause of death. They could not determine whether foul play was involved or whether this case was suspicious. And the case was just left open. They said the reason they couldn't determine whether foul play was involved or not was because his body was submerged in water, and water can quickly get rid of any sort of DNA, whether that be skin, follicles, hair follicles, anything like that, and especially if somebody's body's been in water for 8 weeks. But surely if he had just drowned accidentally, that would be easy enough to pinpoint that cause of death. Please tell me if I'm wrong down below, if I'm missing something there, but I feel like if he had drowned, it would have been easy enough to say he had drowned. Whether foul play was involved to lead him to there, I don't know. You'll have to let me know down below. Nathan was one of 11 people to die in Manchester's canals that very year. Nathan's mother believes there is criminal activity involved in his death, Was Nathan killed by the pusher? The next person I'm going to talk about is David Plunkett. Now, David Plunkett was 21 years old. He was from Yorkshire and he studied at university. He was an only child and his parents had struggled extremely with fertility and miscarriages, so this just made David more precious. In April 2004, he had actually gone to a music festival in Manchester with some friends. One of his friends actually called his parents at around midnight to say that they had got split up from David and they couldn't find him. So his mother said, no, it's okay, I'll call him and I'll try and get in touch with him. So after a couple of times of ringing David did answer the phone, but something was off and very, very strange. David didn't speak, not one word. His mother remembers the call being totally silent. Wherever he was, it was silent, and all she could hear was David's breathing every now and again. After about 8 minutes of silence, David let out a blood-curdling scream, which caused his mother to drop her phone. His father took over the phone call whilst his mother immediately called 999, and his father described this moment and this screaming as if David had seen something and he was just totally terrified. And then out of nowhere the phone just went dead. His family had no idea where he was. And unfortunately, 2 weeks after that phone call, his body was pulled from Manchester Ship Canal. And this was just half a mile from where he was enjoying himself with his friends. Investigations started into this case and police simply concluded that it was an accident and he fell in and drowned. But his parents think differently. They are so certain that something else was involved, especially because of the blood-curdling scream that David let out on that phone call that night. So one of the last cases I'm going to talk about is Sovik Pal. He had gone out on New Year's Eve 2012 with some friends. He had drank alcohol and taken drugs that night, and this led him to be kicked out of the club and split up from his friends. And then Sovik was never seen again. When investigating this case, police had managed to trace his steps. They found CCTV of the club where Sovik was that night, and Sovik was outside speaking to an unknown male, and to this day this male man has never been identified. Sovik and this male headed across the road to the canal bridge, and then this male returned sometime later to the club on his own. Unfortunately, 22 days later, Sovik's body was found submerged in the canal. Now, his parents think that there is criminal activity involved, given the fact that he was with an unknown male, and if this male had nothing to do with it, he probably would want to get in touch with police and say, look, I was with this guy, this is what happened. But for some reason, nobody's ever identified him. Is it possible that he could be responsible for Sovik's death? Now, the next one I'm going to talk about is a survivor's story. Despite many people claiming that the Manchester pusher is just an urban legend, there is a surprisingly big number of survivor stories. Now, I don't know whether this is people who are trying to get somewhere with the limelight or whether these are 100% genuine, but I know this one was reported through the police and police were investigating it, so I think this one's the most believable. So that's why I'm going to talk about this survivor's story. A 34-year-old cyclist was cycling down the canal near the Old Trafford Stadium when he was pushed from his bike into the canal. The victim almost drowned after falling in, as his bike had actually gone into the water with him and was tangled around his legs. Police were looking for a suspect in his 30s or 40s, but police did later say that this wasn't related to any other incident. So since 2007, over 85 people have died in the Manchester canal systems, and 17 of these were either suspicious or no cause of death could be established. So let's talk about this theory as if it was false. So police are saying these are just simpler accidents that have mainly been caused by alcohol. So if that's the case, then why haven't police put any precautions into place to try and avoid people from falling in? Why does a parent or victim have to come up with a petition for there to be barriers around certain areas of the canals if they know that's what's causing it. Why haven't they just gone out their way and tried to make things better anyway? Also, if they're just drowned like police are claiming, why are 17 of them still suspicious and open? If something else is to blame for the suspicious deaths, such as robberies gone wrong, assaults, muggings, why hasn't police looked into it more and given the families that information? So let's now talk about it as if it was true. If the Manchester pusher is real, he has claimed over 85 lives, and this would make him the most prolific serial killer in the country. Some of the victims did have some suspicious head injuries that later couldn't be explained. Also, the pusher would have to know this area extremely well. Now, if anybody has been to Manchester or any other big cities anywhere really, everywhere is completely covered with CCTV. Now, the canals are not, but everywhere surrounding is. So he would have to know not to get caught and the best places to go and which ways to walk. So he would have to be very clued up on the area. These canal systems stretch for miles and miles. They literally cover the whole Greater Manchester network, and the main area of canals actually covers 36 miles. So this person would have to know all these areas in Greater Manchester really, really well. So I don't know if there's a serial killer or not, but one thing I do know is this situation is very suspicious to me. I can't get my head around why nothing more is being done to protect drunk people, especially when they are young and vulnerable. No matter if there's a serial killer or if this is just accident, something more should be done to protect people in the area. Police have always dismissed the fact that there could be a serial killer, and they've said they will not look into the chances of there being a serial killer until they get more information or more evidence that is connected to all these cases. Now, like I said, there's over 85 cases involved in this whole Manchester pusher sort of myth, or possibly true, I don't know. So I physically could have not fitted it in one video. I picked out the 3 that stood out most to me and the most suspicious to me, but there are so many cases, there is so much information, and if I was to put that all in one video, it would be hours and hours and hours long, and it would just absolutely flood you. So what I'm going to do, if you want to know more about the Manchester pusher, I will leave news articles, I will leave the documentaries, which are really, really good, down below. So if you do get a chance to maybe look more into the case, or maybe you know something about it already, please let me know what you think, because I really am in two minds about this. The Manchester pusher was something that I believed when I was younger, and now I'm like, is it real, is it not? I don't know. But looking at the 3 cases that we talked about today and the survivor story, it is really suspicious. There's something going on here, and I feel it's more than alcohol. I may be on my own thinking that, but let me know what you think down below. So that is all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this little twist on true crime. It is something that has been around over 10 years, so that's why I wanted to talk to you about it today. One of my subscribers actually suggested that I do more true crime cases, maybe from where I'm located, and I am located in the Greater Manchester area. I'm not going to tell you exactly where, but one of these poor gentlemen did actually die in my hometown, because Greater Manchester is more than one place, it's a whole area. So that's why I decided to cover this, because it's really, really interesting, and I'm sure them documentaries will be of use to you, because once you start looking into this whole Manchester pusher, it's a crazy ride, trust me. So I really do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a massive thumbs up. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any videos from me, and I shall see you in my next true crime video. Bye.